Well, the boys from Foregate are at it again today with batch 18, St. Charente. Let's find out how this one stacks up today on the My Bourbon Journey Whiskey Review channel. Let's do this. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me today on the My Bourbon Journey Whiskey Review channel. So today, Foregate Whiskey Company, they're back at it again with batch 18, the St. Charente. So Charente basically is the River Charente, which flows through the Cognac region of France. And the Saint portion, which was put in front of Charente, was due to the amount of saints that are in front of a lot of little towns within France. So St. Charente was basically how they came up with the name for batch 18. So what exactly is this? So this is coming in at 119.2 proof or 59.6% ABV. Mash bill on this is going to come in at 75% corn, 21% rye, 4% malted barley, and as it's stated on the bottle, it is aged a minimum of 7 years. And the MSRP, pretty typical of Foregate, is right around that $200 price point. Color-wise, as you can see, I mean, it's a beautiful mahogany type of color. I mean, finished in these, Cognac casks. It's an unbelievable finish on a bourbon typically. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how this one really kind of shakes out today. Well, my first impression of this right away is a baked apple pie. There's a lot of that baking spice. There's a lot of that apple that's there. You're also picking up some of the kind of green orchard fruits, maybe like a pear, even something along the lines of like a green grape, a green apple. There's a lot of that kind of freshness that's there from that cognac influence. Maybe even like a slight like coffee bean note. And I'm also picking up a little bit of like a zestiness. So that's a little bit of a combination of like an orange, maybe even like a little bit of a lemon zest that's there. There's something that's bright and fresh. And I think a lot of that is coming directly from that cognac influence there. Even get a slight nuttiness. Now this is along the lines more of like an almond. Really nice kind of vanilla cream or like a vanilla custard. Here's kind of the sweet oak, but I think as this has kind of opened up or starting to open up a little more of that kind of sweet oak is kind of starting to come through. But the one thing I'll say about this on the nose is it's staying very consistent with that baked apple pie. So lots of baking spices, still kind of that maybe green apple, green grape. There's a lot of that pie aspect. Maybe not as much on the kind of the doughy side of things, but there's a lot of that baking spice, fresh oak, kind of some of those green fruits, things along those lines. Maybe even a slight leather note. Not heavy, like in terms of like what you would expect from like a dryness or something like that, but there is a little bit of like a leather note there. Interesting. I also got something like a box of Cracker Jacks. There's something with the caramels and the corn that's there. Yeah, maybe almost like a caramel corn, I suppose. Let's see how this one's going to taste. Cheers. Very much like the nose early on, you're hit with that big wave of baking spice, a little bit of kind of black pepper that's there as well. Orchard fruit, there's a lot of that kind of stewed fruit or like a baked apple pie. Not overly sweet. I think the cognac part of it allows for a little bit more of the cognac is starting to kind of come out a little bit. You get a little bit more of that being forward along the lines of, or in addition to a lot of the baking spice, that baked apple pie, those stewed fruits, things along those lines. So the cognac portion is starting to kind of pick up, build a little bit more as you begin to kind of sip on this. Definitely some of the leather, maybe even a slight tobacco, maybe like a pipe tobacco note, but the cognac is really starting to come out in this a little bit. And you get this this bite sometimes. There's an earthiness to a cognac. So that is starting to kind of come out a little bit with, you know, kind of the mixture of the baked apple pie. So some of the stewed fruits, definitely some of the green citrus. You know, you've got some of the like green grape, a pear, maybe even again, a little bit of that kind of green apple. And I think again, in addition to some of those leathers and maybe sweet pipe tobacco, the leather is kind of balancing out some of the sweetness part of it. So you still end up with a little bit of that black pepper, some of that sweetness that's still there. It's layered very well. So you still are left with the influence of a nice bourbon with that cognac influence that's there. So the balance of the two are working really, really well. Definitely more oak is starting to come out as it's opened up. I think even a little bit more of the black pepper is starting to come through. Still a little bit more of that earthiness that you get at times from like a cognac. That's beginning to kind of really start to shine a little bit more. Some of the traditional vanillas and caramels are there, but they're kind of pushed down a little bit. They're not dominating. I'd say if you really enjoy the influence of what a cognac has on a bourbon, this will probably be right up your alley. I think the balance of the two was done perfectly. I don't think either one is overshadowing each other. It's really a compliment, which is really nice. You know, generally anywhere from maybe 30 to 45 days of finishing time. So they're definitely not overcooking anything. You still have the influence of the bourbon with that enhancement of the finishing cask, which just happens to be the cognac. Truly, the balance of this is really nice. I think they've done a really nice job of pulling this to not let it be, you know, really overdone. I think they've done a really nice job with that so far. So again, I think as you kind of shift or transition to the finish part, I mean, the finish on this is really still, you know, all of medium plus, maybe upwards of that long, but still you're left with a lot of that cognac influence. There's the earthiness, maybe that slight almond aspect that's there to it. Definitely some of the sweet oak, maybe a little bit of that sweet pipe tobacco that's there. There still is that baked apple pie portion, but I think that's a little more early on. I don't think you get it nearly as much in the finish as you do early, you know, part of the sipping process. So you do get hit with a little bit more of the orchard fruit, you know, green grape, pear up front, and then you're left a little bit more with the cognac influence on the finish that really kind of allows it to be very layered. So I think overall they've done a really nice job with this, and I'm typically a fan of what cognac does to a bourbon. I think that cognac is a really nice influence and a great balance to what this whiskey truly is. And they're always getting the quality finishing casks, as good a bourbon as they possibly can get. So that's why I'm a huge fan of what it is that they do, because everything that they put their hands on typically turns into a really nice batch release. So again, I think what they've done here with batch 18, the Saint Charente, I think they've kind of, you know, knocked another one out of the park. There you have it from Four Gate Whiskey Company, batch 18, the Saint Charente, again, finished in a cognac cask. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to another one of my reviews. Greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to follow me, you can on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. If you'd like to support the channel and join the Mash and Journey Whiskey Club, make sure you check the Patreon link in the description below. All the details will be there for that. And remember, it's about the journey and not the destination. Cheers.